Hello and welcome back to another Play or Pass, where we jump into some co-op and multiplayer games and give you our thoughts on whether or not they're worth picking up. And if you feel like joining myself and Nex for more co-op and multiplayer content, feel free to subscribe and join us each week as we review and play through all sorts of different titles. Today we're covering Ghost Recon Wildlands, a third-person tactical shooter developed by Ubisoft and released in March of 2017. Wildlands was the first Ghost Recon game to feature an open-world environment, in which players are free to roam the map, carry out missions, uncover weapons, attachments and gear, and help the local population fight against the cartels that are extorting and terrorizing their home. The map itself contains mountains, deserts, salt flats and forests, all of which you as a player have to navigate to complete your objectives. And as a player, you play as part of Delta Company, a special forces group commonly known as Ghosts, which have been deployed into Bolivia, a country that's been upturned by a Mexican drug cartel known as Santa Blanca. In Wildlands, you choose from an arsenal of weapons and equipment that suits your playstyle, and you put your chosen loadout to use as you take down the criminal leaders controlling 21 different areas of the map. Wildlands on release was a bit divisive. The players who loved Ghost Recon for what it was didn't like the shift to an open world environment, and the players who wanted the freedom to explore and roam the world seemed to love it. 3 years later, the game is still being discussed by the franchise's community, so we jumped in to let you know in 2021 if Ghost Recon Wildlands is a play or a pass.
Wildlands has been around for a while, but there is no doubt that a dedicated community backs the continuation of this game's legacy, particularly as many were not so keen to go in the direction of its sequel Breakpoint, a game we've recently reviewed. Since its release, there have been fairly consistent content drops up until the end of 2018. First impressions when looking around is that the world looks really fleshed out, although upon close inspection, the details looked ever so slightly dated. However, when pulled together, it's a forgettable insight. We were quick to be immersed in our surroundings and ready to try out some of the main and side missions. The interface is nicely streamlined with a minimalist approach, which is the only acceptable way by today's standards. Fast travelling to unlocked areas and your party really helps streamline the gameplay, and the world map opens up quickly, making navigating on the move a more than acceptable experience. I may be missing something, but one of my biggest gripes in a lot of games is not being able to move when looking at the main map. Where possible, we prefer the realism no HUD experience, even further immersing yourself into the gameplay with minimal distractions. Wildlands gives you the option to turn off individual aspects of the game until you have nothing but your character on screen. We had one issue with this after turning everything off, as we impatiently waited at the laptop not knowing that we'd removed the interface needed to hack the system. There's no progress bar. I've been tapping the same two buttons for maybe a minute.
Hold E or something?
No, F.
Space.
Turn space, no. Character movement is razor responsive, and drawing weapons is quick, leading to a great pace of gunplay. There is no character jumping, but you can vault over objects by interacting with them. Enemies have strange modifiers to damage taken depending on if you've been detected or not. Players have the ability to one-shot from stealth, with guns being slightly less effective during a gunfight. We found hiding behind cover to not work as well as you'd expect in games with this feature, often still getting shot from the other side, something that will just take time when getting used to. The breadth of weapons is too long to list, but they come in the form of assault rifles, sub, light and compact machine guns, snipers, crossbows, shotguns and handguns, each with various attachment options and fire modes. Equipment options are your typical tactical gear, things like UAVs, binoculars, flare gun and mines, and gear can generally be customized with different skins and colours to match your style of choice. Your character has a skill tree that provides permanent buffs and minor upgrades unlocked through a bunch of resources like food, meds, gas and tools, all earned through play and clearly marked all over the map. The bonuses could be anything from increased ammo capacity, improved hip fire accuracy, or the use of a parachute. Past the max level of 30, players can start tier mode, an endgame option to unlock more things like masks, guns and camos. Vehicles feel fairly grounded and are easy to control, although they do suffer from some questionable physics at times. At one point you're freestyling through the environment, off-roading through woods and bunny hopping cars, but if falling off in style is something you're after, then follow this easy one-step process. A key part of the world being so immersive is the sheer number of things to do in it. Your actions with civilians and rebels alike creates a living world. Saving a certain group will give them reign of that area, possibly providing allied cover in future encounters. The main mission gameplay loop consists of picking a region with the expectation of taking down the main cartel boss. However, to get access to them you must complete intel missions scattered around this region, which then lead to story missions. Playing with friends couldn't be easier, partying up was a cinch and any missions can be shared in real time. This does mean as a new player you can join your friend who is halfway through the game, for example. For those soloing, there is an AI team on standby with what looks like some decent auto-aim and teleporting to you whenever you get too far. As a co-op and multiplayer channel, we didn't get much of a chance to assess them in depth, but we get the impression you probably want to take them over either of us. Overall, it was a really pleasant experience. It's not far away from the feel of GTA 5, all while being considerably different to play, holding on to its tactical elements in mission areas, with scope to change the difficulty and customize the HUD to your preferences, including Ghost Mode, where you can only carry one weapon, have friendly fire on, and character permadeath. The experiences can be customized to suit any type of player.
I played Wildlands on release back in 2017, and I personally loved the open world style game design, the tactical gunplay, and the ability to play the entire game in co-op with your friends. While we can appreciate the comments and complaints from the hardcore Ghost Recon community, it's not always a bad thing when a franchise takes a risk and branches out into new territory. Specifically in the case of Wildlands, for us the risk paid off. And there is still a huge number of gamers that love Ghost Recon in this open world environment. Graphically, Wildlands these days won't be blowing anyone's mind, but it's held up relatively well since release, and the world of Bolivia in which it's set still feels alive and vibrant, partly because of the art style and the graphics, but mostly because of the environment itself. The inhabitants that you see travelling through the world, and the rebels that you can hear fighting over the river or over the mountain in the distance. Rebels that you can go and help win the fight if you choose to. Overall, we gave Ghost Recon Wildlands a 4 out of 5. As open world shooters go, we think Wildlands is up there with the best of them. The world is expansive, varied and alive, the missions and the story draw you in, and the tactical gunplay, the options for co-op, and the customization of gear and loadouts made Wildlands for us a really enjoyable experience. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game or whether or not you agree with our review. We're the Bullet Sponges and we'll see you in the next one.